fist pound on the gates of dawn. Which side of this war am I leaning on? My cockpit shakes, my sensors scream. This battlefield's a fever dream. Is it death to my rank or glory to my rank? War bug fights but the lines are blurred. Glory to the fallen or vengeance serves. Death to the name that I can't confirm. War bug rides and the engines burn. Radar's fine, can't see the crest. Who's my ally? Who's my best? Paint jobs fade in the smoky haze. My loyalty's lost in this mech maze. Is it death to my rank or glory to my rank? War bug fights but the lines are blurred. Glory to the fallen or vengeance serves. Death to the name that I can't confirm. War bug rides and the engines burn. Radar's fine, can't see the crest. Who's my ally? Who's my best? Paint jobs fade in the smoky haze. My loyalty's lost in this mech maze. Is it death to my rank or glory to my rank? War bug fights but the lines are blurred. Glory to the fallen or vengeance serves. Death to the name that I can't confirm. War bug rides and the engines burn. Bug rides and the engines burn. Marina thought she had the sky safe and sound, never asking why. But in the shadows, plans were laid to send her dreams aflame and free. Comstar with steel resolve, watch the largest problems dissolve. Rena's laughter quickly drowned by the roar that shakes the ground. Nuclear surprise, well, what a sight to see. Rena's hope's gone in a blinding spree. Thought you'd escape, but here we are. Your fate sealed by a falling star. No remorse in the cold command. Finger poised a fiery hand. Rena gasped, but it was late. Nothing stops the hands of fate. Through the sky, the justice fell, turning calm to living hell. Silent judgment marked the sparks. Rena's world now burns hot.
War Pucks! How is it going?
Surprise, well, what a sight to see. Rena's hope's gone in a blinding spree. Thought you'd escape, but here we are. Your fate sealed by a falling star.
Remember when I said I'd never nuke you, Rena?
Let's go. Nuclear surprise, well, what a sight to see. Rena's hope's gone in a blinding spree. Thought you'd escape, but here we are. Your fate sealed by a falling star. Her fate sealed by a falling star. Her fate sealed by a falling star. No remorse in the cold command. Finger poised a fiery hand. Rena gasped, but it was late. No remorse, but it was lured. Your fate sealed by a falling star. No, sealed by
War Pugs. X in chat to nuke Rena. Let's go. Guys, how's it going? I had that song made a while back and I just literally just never played it. I don't know why. Warpugs, how's it going? Guys, we're here for the Battlemaster tonight. It is the Battlemaster tonight, and apparently my head looks like the visor for this thing. X in chat to nuke meep though, because apparently since the Jaguar stream, he said I look like the visor of this thing. That makes me sad, and nothing helps the sadness like fireworks. And I'm just saying. Okay, so we are playing host to yet another pup. The Hospitaller took him right upstairs right before the stream started. And we also have a very large like a bunny at this point, okay? I'm just saying, the Hospitaller went upstairs with the puppy, so she apparently doesn't want you guys to see him. She's jealous. She just doesn't want you guys to see him. Like that's what's going on right now, guys. That's what's going on right now. You see, she's saying, "Do you want me to bring him down?" But really, what she's saying is we should nuke her for bringing the puppy upstairs. And there's also something else that she got that you guys ought to see, because yeah. JR, how's it going, bud? How's it going? Growl Wolf, what's up, guys? It's time for Battletech Tuesday, and we have something here from Big Red-40TECH, and oh my god, nukes for everybody! Nukes for everybody! I am officially throwing in my hat to be Star League for this particular thing. Everybody gets a nuke. It's just the way things go after I promise not to nuke anybody, okay? That's how it goes. Mad Mergen, get yourself a beer, my friend. Get yourself a beer. Jason, convince me this mech is worth it. I don't know if I can. We're going to find out if Big Red can. Warpugs. She's bringing the pupper down. Now, we're playing host of this thing. Somebody left this thing in a box. Okay? Left it in a box. She found it. We're rehabilitating him. We're rehabilitating. And I'm back to being Steve Irwin of my own channel, because here it is. Now she's got this look on her face. Look at this little face. Look at this little face. He was very hot. He was very hot. It was not. He was not in a good mood. He was not in a good mood. He was not at all.
Alfie.
His name is Alfarius. Yes, it is. He's a little tiny thing. Yes.
You want me to go get Brunhilde?
Yes, go get Brunhilde. She also found something else. Oh, look at this little thing. Look how cute it is. We're going to be trying to find a home. We're getting him back to where he's good, and then we're going to find him a home. That's what we've done for the past couple of dogs we've habilitated. And we're going to be looking for a home for this little guy. And so he's going to be staying with us for a few days. Yes, he is. He's going to be staying with us for a few days, and then we're going to be trying to find him a forever home once we're satisfied that he's good.
You think that he's going to go to a new home, like it's going to change my mind.
Okay, here. I'm going to put him down.
Yeah.
I'm going to grab that. Oh god, oh god, this thing. Oh god, oh god, oh god, oh god, oh god.
21 pounds of rabbit.
And then I have this now.
Lift up how big this rabbit is.
Behold, Bun Bun. Behold the Bun Bun.
21 pounds.
Look at this
Flemish
thing.
Giant.
This is a Flemish giant.
It's 12 weeks old.
Look at it. Yes. This thing is a snack. This is a chungus. She named it Brunhilde. This thing is a chunk. Look at this thing.
It's all stained because it was in its potty.
Look.
I bathed it. It's just stained.
Okay, you grab this. I'm going to grab the cute thing now.
Alright, I'm going to go put Bruni away.
Okay, go put Brunhilde away. Come here. Okay, you can stay here with me for a bit. Yeah, but we are going to be looking for a home for this little guy right here. This is what we're looking for right now. We're looking for a home for this little guy. That's how it is. Alan, he did not choose a forever home. I'm not trying to collect Pokemon, okay? I am not. I have 4 dogs. I do not need another one.
Alfarius, so he has to be
His name is Alfar.
war crime dog.
No. Stop it.
Oh, he acts like it's gonna change my mind.
My place is a zoo. Yes. But, it's okay.
He ate some egg burrito.
He ate an egg burrito. He's very satisfied with himself. Look at his face. Look at that little face. He's so
Can you tell him
cute.
what he is?
No.
Chihuahua, Pomeranian, and Boxer mix.
He's a little lad. Look how he's holding on to my hand. He's a little lad. Yes. Yes.
He's gonna watch your live
You know
stream
what? How about
upstairs
this?
with me.
How about this? How about you do the live stream instead of me today? Would that be good?
He
You think
looks
you'd be
at me
okay with
like,
that?
Mom,
Can you provide good
you
commentary?
can do it if you want.
You are a distinguished gentleman.
You want to do a live stream?
You are a distinguished gentleman. Okay, here you go.
Come here, baby.
All right. So that's the story of
Do
my
they
life,
like him?
Warpugs. Yes, they love him, of course. My wife is Trazen the Infinite. She is
He's
Trazen.
gonna go lay up on the bed and watch your live stream with me.
Oh, hold on. Avalon just came in. Avalon, look what my wife found. Look at it. Look. Look at this.
Look at his little cross paw.
I know. Yes. The Warpugs Homestead, where weebs eat for free. Are you a weeb? Are you a weeb? Is she gonna get you to watch like harem and
he's
etchy
gonna
anime?
watch anime with me.
You're gonna make him watch anime.
He just goes to sleep whenever I lay him on the bed.
Okay. My wife is officially a Pokemon trainer. There you go.
I am. I choose you, Pika Pup.
Get out.
Pika Pup.
Okay. Yes, I'm adorable. I'll commit war crimes that the face has to me. That is very true. It is very true. All right, let's go. Guys, it's time. Let's go. Give the pup a couple months. We are pulling the ribbon out of his mouth. Probably. Let's go. Let's go. Battlemaster Remastered. Let's go. I check out the Otami. Dude, I'm literally not going to be able to... Like, I am literally hoping to God I'll be able to do anything, my guy.
Battlemechs have a variety of roles to...
You know what? X in chat to nuke Meep. Just nuke Meep real quick. Everybody just nuke him, okay? X in chat, nuke Meep. Shut up, Meep. Shut up, okay? Just... I see it, but you still deserve to get nuked, okay? Plastered.
fulfill on the battlefields of the inner sphere and the periphery. From skirmishers to long-range and close-range support mechs, to trooper machines that fulfill several generic roles, to strategic combat assets, all of them have something to bring to the table. And there is one class of mech that is truly invaluable for any major force executing complex operations. That being a forward command mech. These machines are where legends reside within, or are born even, in the battlefields of the 31st and 32nd centuries. Every major battle has some version of them that participates. And their controls have seen the bravest and most powerful figures in the inner sphere take command of them. From house lords to mercenary colonels, these forward assets have fought in the thickest of the fighting. There are only a handful of these exceptional mechs, especially ones that see frequent use across the many centuries of warfare experienced by mankind.
Meep. That is not necessary. I am not the balding master. This is a deforestation campaign, okay?
Since the fall of the Star League. But one stands out from all the others. One of these fine warhorses is so frequent in its deployment, so common in its use, that it is almost the definitive example of the role. More legendary leaders have piloted some form of this Battlemech than any others. Though, its origins are not quite as triumphant, and they are indeed much humbler than one might imagine for this Battlemech of the ultra-wealthy. So, join me here, won't you, as we examine the origin, history, and use of one of the most spectacular war machines in the history of humanity. The mech that saved Hollis Industries from complete failure. The Battlemaster.
Let's go. Reverb, you don't have nukes, but you have Meep in the crosshairs. You're a bushwhacker? Nice! Nice, my guy! Thanks, bud.
For extreme diseases, extreme methods of cure, as to restriction, are most suitable.
Yes.
Hippocrates.
A last-ditch effort.
It was almost impossible to lose money as a major military-grade weapons manufacturer during the era of human history known as the Age of War, and the following period, named for the political entity that dominated it, the Star League era. While some manufacturers merged with others or were bought out, few faced anything approaching failure, as almost all of the major multi-planet governments in the Inner Sphere and Periphery had an insatiable appetite for weaponry in seemingly all of its forms. There is one major exception to this grand list, at least amongst Battlemech manufacturers, and that was Hollis Industries. Hollis had been a newer player to the game of Battlemech production, but their first major hit, the CPLT-C1 Catapult, had been considered revolutionary upon its introduction.
Hooray.
Initially bought up by the Star League Defense Forces in 2561, this heavy Battlemech had a great reputation during its deployment in the Reunification Wars. It also opened the door for Hollis to expand into new production lines, with yet newer Battlemechs to assemble.
Ooh.
And this was the pathway to disaster. Dr. David Harrison, the chief designer behind the Catapult, had a vision for warfare going forward.
Okay.
And that was for it to be dominated by lumbering, four-legged armored fighting vehicles.
This looks so dumb. This looks dumb. This looks really damn dumb.
For its era, this was considered by some to be an innovative breakthrough, and he sold the idea to Hollis's board. After all, if he was good enough to get them through the door with the Catapult, clearly he was a genius who'd take them ahead with even more breakthrough designs.
Clearly!
Dr. Harrison, however, instead made a complete flop of a concept with the Xanathos. Later, he would go on to another manufacturer, Brigadier, in order to destroy that company's value as well.
Yeah, there you go.
Inevitably, this placed Hollis in an extremely precarious situation. Very few orders came through for the Xanathos, and worse, the Catapult lost its contract with the SLDF, relegating it to almost a second-tier house machine, and one that was not frequently purchased. This placed the company in a great peril. Arms dealers who can't sell weapons don't stay in business indefinitely.
No.
This kind of situation was obviously unsustainable, and thus a new direction had to be taken, one which could save the company. A vision was put forth, not of another obscure quad mech, or of a support mech like the once successful Catapult. No. Instead, Hollis Industries opted to carve out a new market, in the midst of the greatest military buildup in human history. Their designers went to work creating a frontline command machine, built not for royalty, who had access to the greatest arsenal in history, with extremely advanced technologies I should add, but instead they aimed it at the common officer. The lion's share of procurement was not for the SLDF Royal Divisions, or even the best units of the 6 great houses. It was for the bog standard soldier and mech warriors within the SLDF, the great houses' independent militaries, or even their ducal armies. And these troops were largely made up of soldiers who were given affordable, durable, less technologically advanced battle mechs and other materials.
That works.
The mech they designed and then built was deployed in the Inner Sphere in 2633. This was none other than the legend that would inevitably become the seat of royalty, ironically enough, in the form of the BLR-1G Battlemaster. An assault mech, yet one that could move. It offered a multitude of advantages to anyone who got behind its controls. These mechs sold in meaningful enough numbers to pull Hollis out of its immediate precarious financial situation too. During this age of military expansion, and ironically peace, much as predicted, the Battlemaster fell into quiet units where it saw little action. That was until the Succession Wars.
Of course.
The Star League came to an end with the Ameris Civil War's conclusion. This was where the BLR was first deployed in meaningful numbers as well, though it failed to truly make a name for itself in the conflict. Outdone by far more powerful, technologically sophisticated marvels, it simply didn't shine during this bloody, atrocious conflict in ways that other mechs did, particularly those with sleek, advanced onboard systems and weaponry. The wars that followed did something that turned the Battlemaster from a middling, cost-effective design for peasants into something far more prized. The First Succession War was so devastating across the Inner Sphere that many of the more sophisticated competitors to the BLR series could no longer be manufactured at all. Whereas these marvels fell to the wayside, being unable to be supported or manufactured. The more basic components of the Battlemaster ensured that it could be built, regardless of the damage done to most supply chains. This meant that as the Succession Wars raged, this underappreciated mech of the Star League era went from being relatively unknown to being one of the standout performers of this dredged-up conflict of this new, deplorable age of war and wholesale destruction. However, there was a snag.
What was
During
that?
the First Succession War, the primary plant that built the BLR series in numbers was utterly destroyed on the planet of Cori, when the Capellan Confederation and the Free Worlds League clashed over the planet and its productive capacity. Despite this, through other supply points and through cobbled-together manufacturing efforts, Battlemasters were still built in multiple locations by Hollis after the destruction of its main production site.
The Lehman Russ is actually a terrible tank.
These machines proved to be invaluable to anyone who could acquire them, be they mercenaries, house armies, or periphery states. Though, it did ensure that for centuries to come, the Battlemaster would always be viewed of having particularly high value. It was a brutal fighting machine, and one which was designed for a leader to sit in. This meant that it became the very thing it was designed to not be upon its development. This was the point where it truly became what its name entailed, a master of battle, and the chariot of the kings of the Inner Sphere. Be it mercenary colonels, or the nobility of the great houses and their own military brass, the Battlemaster earned the reputation of being the best battle mech for anyone in the upper classes of society and warfare.
Nice!
The irony may have been lost on those who championed this mech going forward as the seat of nobility, but it certainly isn't lost on history as a whole.
Dietrich, that's just a thing that people they do, honestly. You said that it's just a thing. It's just a thing that happens with most companies. They make a product that's decent, and then they lose their minds because they made a single product that's decent and make a whole ton of crap products, and then they actually make something worthwhile again.
An assault mech
I have
weighing
hopes
in
for Bethesda
85
now.
Tons, the BLR-1G Battlemaster. The first production run variant of the mech is a tough, rugged,
True,
reliable weapon of war. Using standardized Introtech materials, despite being a product of the Star League near the height of its technology, the 1G is a smartly designed, relatively inexpensive, relatively mobile assault chassis. First put into the field in 2633, Hollis Industries' savior, with time, became the prime example of a frontline command mech from the Succession Wars and beyond. With that in mind, let's begin looking into the features and attributes that made this battle mech such a standout for all 4 Succession Wars. To start with, its Hollis Mark X chassis' internal structure is comprised of standard materials, and therefore weighs in at 8.5 tons.
Okay.
Without endosteel-related materials being added to this in any way, it doesn't contribute to any additional critical space on board the mech, while also not saving the mech any tonnage either. The primary advantage to doing this, however, is standard materials are always available for manufacturing.
Good.
And they are, to be frank, inexpensive. The 1G also has a standard gyro and cockpit on board, as there were no alternative technologies available to it at the time. In order to keep this armored Goliath cool, the 1G employs 18 single heat sinks, dedicating almost 10% of the mech's overall weight to this aspect of its construction.
Oh my god.
This lets it vent up to 18 points per turn. It is also adequately cooled when factoring in its deliberate technological limitations, though alpha striking with it will result in unfavorable outcomes.
Unfavorable.
As far as heat generation is concerned.
Okay.
In regards to the mech's onboard electronics package, the BLR-1G comes with a Hardford Co. COM 4000 communications package, as well as a Hardford Co. XKZ-1 targeting and tracking system.
Okay.
The former of these attributes gives the Battlemaster the command mech quirk in the advanced rules, helping with initiative rules in the traditional tabletop game. The BLR also has 2 other advanced features, in the form of weakened head armor, making it more likely to be destroyed by a head-clipping weapon system, as well as the jettison-capable weapon, in the form of it being able to discard its right arm's PPC.
That bubble is calling to my AC-20. I'm just saying, it's calling to it, as if it's beckoning it from afar. Assault
mechs past the 80-ton threshold will always have some limitations placed on them regarding mobility. Even as more advanced tech...
Maybe says, what the fuck? Scrolling through YouTube and I find a VR chat ASMR security check and changeling test. What?
Technologies become available.
Thanks, mate, but
light,
what?
XL and XXL engines, as well as mask, TSM, and superchargers. There is just a finite barrier of how fast these machines can go, due to a barrier of the size of the engine types the mech can even fit. So, with that being said, the Battlemaster 1G, for the technology used on board, makes a major investment in its overall movement profile.
Okay.
It is powered by a massive 27-ton Vox 340 Fusion Standard engine, giving it a maximum speed of 64 kilometers per hour.
That's not bad.
Or 6 movement points in the tabletop game.
That's not bad at all.
This means the mech can generate at least 1 defensive movement point reliably, and can reasonably generate 2 with minimum turns or rough terrain inhibiting it within its movement phase. It also means it can move at the rate of battle line formations for inner sphere units, which is essential for keeping up with heavy and medium mech formations. This means that it has the maximum tactical flexibility that its tonnage would allow for, giving it an edge over multiple peer designs that have less ability to keep up.
Chase, probably Armored Core, to be honest with you. Armored Core stuff seems to be absolutely insane.
While it may lack jump jets, in essence, it could not be faster than it is, and had to spend the tonnage to make that a reality.
Well, you gotta remember M1 with with the sheer amount of fuckery that the Mennonites did during the Second Secession War, this thing would have been the best thing you could have got your hands on in the Third.
Assembled without any advanced technologies, this mighty war machine is only able to depend on standard armored plating. This means that it has no anti-missile system, no case, and no advanced materials or electronic warfare defenses on board. This can't be held against it, however, as its expected opposition does not possess any of these attributes either. So, with that being said, the Battlemaster is adequately defended by 14.5 tons of Starguard Mark IV armor plating. This confers it 232 points of protection overall, and while it could be more heavily guarded, it is still very well protected for its weight class and era.
Very
This
nice.
means it has stamina when it comes to a straight fight, and it can engage other heavy assets without much of a problem. Only the most brutal assault mechs of its era will outlast it in terms of protection, one particular example being the legendary AS-7D Atlas. When looking at the most powerful assault class battle mechs, there is often a focus on heavier weaponry. Multiple particle cannons or heavy missile and autocannon options appear in the ranks of mechs in its weight bracket.
Okay.
But the Battlemaster is a bit of an exception, and in some ways benefits from it. Due to tonnage restrictions, the BLR is mostly forced to focus in on light and medium scale weaponry, which gives it an abundance of firepower in close, even if that means it lacks the heaviest damage dealing systems for its technological limits.
Okay.
To start with, the 1G comes with a Donal PPC in the right arm. This is the heaviest weapon on the mech and can punch holes in medium and heavy targets reliably. It does suffer from having a minimum range, but this is easily offset within its arsenal by its other onboard options. The real workhorse on the Battlemaster is not its PPC, however, but its 6 Martel medium lasers, 4 face forward, and 2 face towards the rear. Inevitably, medium lasers give the best damage to tonnage ratio of any weapon in the Introtech Weapons Bazaar.
Okay.
These hit for 5 damage, and when they all align on a single target, they can strip armor very effectively.
Okay.
The 2 rear-facing lasers, in theory, also offer the ability to deal with light, backstabbing opponents that might try to catch the mech out of position. The BLR also has non-energy systems too, in that it has an SRM-6 launcher in the form of the Holly short-range missile pack. This offers scatter damage to targets, letting the mech crit-seek vulnerable opponents that have been opened up by the rest of its firepower.
Okay.
The final piece of the puzzle, a pair of Sperry Browning machine guns, letting it shred infantry and further letting it crit-seek enemy mechs that close within 90 meters or 3 hexes.
Okay.
In totality, it has a mixed array of weaponry, but it is really mostly focused on being a close-range brawler, letting the Battlemaster truly overwhelm enemy mechs, if it gets to range. When examining what the BLR-1G is in totality, we can see that it is a relatively agile, well-armored, well-gunned assault mech that can overwhelm or go toe-to-toe with almost any mech smaller than it.
Okay.
And most mechs of approximately the same tonnage as well. Even monsters like the Stalker series of mechs, despite their heavy firepower, are less armored and less mobile than the BLR overall, giving the mech the tools necessary to potentially overwhelm this deadly adversary.
So, it's a mech that's pretty much built for mass production. Not designed to be the best thing on the battlefield, but designed to be good enough. I'm okay with this.
Where the Battlemaster fails is where it has to engage the top end of the weight spectrum, or when it is forced into long-range duels against more heavily armed mechs, where its PPC is simply not effective enough on its own to outshoot its enemies. The best moments for a Battlemaster is when it has the opportunity to close range, with mechs such as the Marauder, where it can rip it limb from limb while blasting it to pieces. The worst day for the Battlemaster is coming face to face with something like an Atlas, and desperately trying to use its mobility advantage to survive long enough for the mere hope of a chance to win, or survive the engagement. The Battlemaster 1G is a very, very capable mech, and truly earned its reputation as a fighter and as the Chariot of Kings.
There we go.
And its performance alone. In 2760, a short-lived upgrade kit was released for the Battlemaster on the eve of the destruction of the Terran hegemony. This design, the BLR-1GB, would be found in the inventories, mostly of the Terran-deployed SLDF, or Royal Divisions. A number of these also fell into the hands of the CCAF as well, though these would be diminished rapidly once the Succession Wars began. The primary changes made to the mech are in some of the base components and its onboard offensive systems. First of all, it replaces out its standard internal structure in favor of an endo-steel one, saving 4 tons of weight for the mech, but in response restricting some of its critical space on board. After this, it goes on to change its single heat sinks to double heat sinks, dropping them to 17 and allowing the mech to dissipate 34 points of heat a turn. This
got a feeling it's going to need it.
Reasonable for thermal control. However, it will be needed, most definitely, given the nature of the mech's new energy systems. It retains the same engine and same armor, as both are adequate for the times.
Okay.
When it comes to its weapons package, it has twin inner sphere ER-PPCs, with one in each hand, and both are in fact discardable.
Oh.
These reach out to longer ranges, and double the original's damage in the long-range bracket. Now, this is very much the same damage output as a Marauder or Warhammer, 2 lighter mechs.
So far, like, the Highlander is one of my favorites, period. Just because of the Highlander burial, okay? I can't get over that. The Ebon Jaguar is, of course, up there as well. Like, just no doubt.
But all the same, it is there. They also devour most of the mech's heat budget too. For when things get in close, it retains its 4 forward-facing medium lasers, while adding a large pulse laser to the center torso.
Oh!
And it abandons both its machine guns and SRMs, giving it no ability to crit seek. The mech also runs very hot if its ER-PPCs and other weapons are used irresponsibly and in tandem. Strangely, in some respects, the 1GB, despite having more output regarding its firepower, is somewhat of a side grade to the original, outside of doubling the long-range fire. It has
M101, everybody knows the King Crab is my favorite one. I thought that went without saying.
no new weaknesses that appear due to its upgrade either, save for the fact it can no longer deal with infantry in any meaningful way. Overall, though,
it is a mech. It has a very, very easy way of dealing with infantry. Step on them.
Royal variant of the Battlemaster was a flash in the pan. Built in small numbers, even when compared to the main Battlemaster, for very specific forces, its fate was to largely vanish from human warfare until the 31st century, after the destruction of Corey's manufacturing centers, and after the exodus of the SLDF.
Let's go.
There is one thing stronger than all the armies in the world, and that is an idea whose time has come.
Yes.
Victor Hugo.
Hey, Yelwyn. Ah! Merrick!
The First Succession War's destruction of the primary manufacturing center for the Battlemaster created a problem for multiple state and independent actors who were increasingly dependent on the Battlemaster throughout the Succession Wars.
Tell me about it.
And of course, the 2 industrial merchant houses of the Inner Sphere would make a play to fill the ever-increasing void which Hollis had left behind when they had the audacity of losing their primary production site. At some point past the First Succession War, notably, the prolific and powerful Battlemech manufacturer, Earthworks, opened a line for the BLR series on Keystone in the Free Worlds League. This gave the Free Worlds League a leg up, as it were, in this element of trade with other houses. Not only did the Free Worlds League military benefit from having access to the mech more directly, even if the series still did suffer from low production numbers, it also benefited for the purposes of trade during the less hostile points in the Inner Sphere. Particularly...
Define less hostile points in the Inner Sphere. That goes... Really, that's a big definition there.
During the ever-changing political landscape of the Third Succession War.
Oh, yeah.
House Merrick had always been mercenaries themselves in terms of production and distribution of military hardware, seemingly willing to be a weapon supplier to anyone outside of the Lyran Commonwealth. And even then, this is far from a hard rule for merchants of Merrick. The Battlemaster from here
M101, that's Steiner you're thinking of.
Would have consistent distribution to most other great houses. Once more, in small numbers throughout the Second, Third, and even Fourth Succession Wars. The build-up to the Fourth War even saw the formation of a military and economic pact called the Captian Accord, which included the Free Worlds League, Draconis Combine, and Capellan Confederation. While the League didn't particularly support the latter in this arrangement, the pact allowed for the flow of military hardware, like the Battlemaster, into the Draconis Combine. This didn't change the brutal outcome of the Fourth Succession War, with the Accord being on the losing side. But it did have a role to play in both the War of 3039 and the eventual position of the Free Worlds League being the major arms dealer of human space once the clan invasion struck.
Very true, DJ.
But the Battlemaster didn't merely appear in the inventories of earthworks on Keystone. It also would prove to be a boon to the Lyran Commonwealth.
Of course.
Who took the design themselves at some point, with it being handled by Red Devil Industries, as well as Trellshire Heavy Industries. And unlike the League and Earthworks, during the latter portion of the Succession Wars, they would use this mech in new and interesting ways.
Oh boy.
Keystone, and later Trellshire, were mostly renowned for their tenure over the production of this mech in these eras for just making the 1G.
Pretty much,
Red
Mitch.
Devils produced its own variation of the design, in addition to the classic examples. While House Merrick was always an economic competitor of sorts, the truth was that the Lyran Commonwealth, for most of its history in comparison to the rest of the Inner Sphere, was an economic leviathan. With
an economic leviathan and a complete and total sham of a military power in comparison to what it could have been.
Hollis being mostly out of the game of building their prized mechs, and with the League then moving to step in, it was only natural that the Lyrans were going to enter this game at some point. The Commonwealth was never deprived of its military material once, and being dependent on their mortal enemies for just about anything never fit the mold. The Commonwealth, too, like the Free Worlds League, also traded in times of lowered tensions, allowing the BLR series to continue its journey into multiple militaries across the Inner Sphere as the Succession Wars dragged on. It's also noteworthy that with the formation of the Federated Commonwealth, and the two major wars surrounding it, the new superpower of the Inner Sphere was not frozen out of Battlemaster production as a result of the Lyrans, long prior to the formation of this new state, having sought to satiate their own desires for this command mech. But this isn't where the changes to mech production and deployment ended, as even without the productive capacity to build any of these mechs independently, the Federated Sons, prior to their alliance with House Steiner, in the 29th century, took on the radical approach of producing an upgrade kit for their own BLR models.
Okay.
While trade did sporadically appear between Atreus and New Avalon's governments, it wasn't always consistent. And as a result, the Battlemaster, a much beloved mech within the armed forces of the Federated Sons, was considered a precious commodity. In order to preserve this, they created a more durable version of the Battlemech for themselves, in the form of the 1D.
Okay.
All of these threads, all of these moves, displayed the true story of the Battlemaster's survival after the catastrophe of the First Succession War, It shows how it was considered a vital component for multiple forces. So much so that two of the great powers eventually rescued the design from extinction or true endangerment, in order to not only bolster their own forces, but to inflate their trading and industrial prowess. Through House Davian as well, it shows how innovative solutions were brought forward, even rebuilding existing mechs for a more survivable configuration, simply to extend the lifespan of the machines they already possessed in their inventories. The Succession Wars are eras known for their degrading of mankind's technology and industrial abilities. But the truth is there is more nuance than that, and the Battlemaster's story shows this.
Okay.
When the chips were down, companies and governments would make decisions that prevented the complete decline of vital components, and in doing so, began the process of preserving and enhancing what industrial and scientific institutions they had left. This then further opened the door in the future for these industries to come roaring back to the forefront, with the discovery of the Helm Memory Core, and with the clan invasion.
Ah, yes, the clan invasion. The clan invasion. When the crab ate the clan in the forest. The 1D.
First deployed in 2687, the BLR-1D is a significant reimagining of the standard Battlemaster,
Okay.
created by House Davian during the Succession Wars. The biggest reason for its reconfiguration is to keep the mech in operating order, and to keep it from being catastrophically lost, while not sacrificing much of its original functionality. The primary way this is done is by removing the rear-facing medium lasers and its SRM-6 package.
Okay.
This reduces the amount of ammunition on board, and gives the mech more tonnage to put into other locations of the mech.
Sounds good.
On this, its PPC, 4 remaining medium lasers, and machine guns remain from the original BLR-1G design.
Alright.
So where does this freed up tonnage go to then? If not other weapons, you may ask. It firstly goes into the mech's armor, increasing it to 15.5 tons, giving it an extra layer of protection. It also goes into increasing its heatsink total to 24, meaning that this particular Battlemaster can run and alpha strike its entire remaining weapons package, while remaining heat neutral. In essence, the mech is sturdier, both in its heat resilience and in its durability overall, but this comes at the cost of raw firepower.
Okay.
Overall, it mostly did.
Okay, so here's the thing, okay? Okay, I'm just gonna say it. I am not a fan of rear-firing weapons, okay? I am a fan of the Alpha Strike, 100%. I am the absolute fan of the Alpha Strike, okay? And the thing about it is, if this thing can consistently just blast and blast and blast Alpha Strike after Alpha Strike after Alpha Strike, I am of the opinion that it's better. Yes, it doesn't have the rear-facing weapons, but I don't like them anyway. Okay? In my opinion, it's just a better... this is just a better design, because I can put down more damage on a single target better. Yeah, if it's mobile, turn around and shoot back. Exactly. What about guns that cover all angles? That's good and all, M101, but, I am more, okay, so some people like that kind of stuff. I'm more the guy that likes to be like, fuck that area right there in particular.
As the Davian engineers intended, keeping their dwindling numbers of Battlemasters in the fight, while they either salvaged more of these mech chassis from their enemies, or received them through trade in limited numbers, being produced on Keystone, or later, Pandora.
And isn't salvaging trading under other means? Like, I trade you DACA into your mech, and then you give me your mech.
Put into production just in time for the Fourth Succession War in 3025.
This was probably going to be really stupid. It's made by the Steiners. I don't have a lot of faith in them.
The BLR-1S is Red Devil Industries' attempt to modify the Battlemaster, to better fit the needs of the LCAF of the time.
Okay.
It is notable that they also produced the BLR-1G at the same time, though the 1S is a radical reimagining of this series in terms of its weaponry.
Okay.
The only difference in the mech's internal components is that the 1S possesses 20 single heatsinks overall, rather than 18.
Okay.
Once more, the SRM and rear-facing medium lasers are stripped out. In addition, the Steiner-made assault mech also tears away the machine guns on board too, as well as the 1G's primary weapon, its particle projection cannon. As before with the 1D, the 4 forward-facing medium lasers are retained. Twin SRM-2s replace the original SRM-6, as well as an LRM-5. Replacing out the PPC in terms of its tonnage, in the left arm, the BLR-1S installs an LRM-15 launcher. The main problem for this launcher, however, is that it only has 1 ton of ammunition dedicated towards it. Overall, its armaments aren't particularly impressive, making it oddly comparably gunned to a Catapult, a cousin mech design from old times when they shared the same manufacturer.
Okay.
Only the Catapult weighed 20 tons less, and has more missiles. The 1S is a strangely bracketed Battlemech with ammunition issues, and strangely meek firepower in terms of its overall punching ability.
I told you, this was gonna suck. It's made by the Steiners. They either do one or two things. They make something absolutely damn brilliant and export it and keep shit.
Even compared to the base model of the Battlemaster. The medium lasers, for instance, poorly pair with the LRMs for firing simultaneously.
Yes!
Which then begs the question of why it needs more heatsinks. It's a strange model, to say the least.
It's stupid. It's just stupid. Let's go. Yes.
The king, who is situated anywhere immediately on the circumference of the conqueror's territory, is termed the enemy.
Okay.
The king, who is likewise situated close to the enemy, but separated from the conqueror only by the enemy, is termed a friend.
The enemy of my enemy is my friend.
Arthasratra, describing the Circle of Kings.
Oh, no shit, it's Merrick.
The single greatest transformation in the history of politics within the Inner Sphere came about in 3049, with the arrival of the descendants of the formerly self-exiled Star League Defense Forces. Their return, to be clear, was far from peaceful.
Oh, really?
It was a military incursion into multiple realms of the Inner Sphere and the periphery. Those on the front lines were the Oberon Confederation, Free Rosselhague Republic, the Steiner portion of the Federated Commonwealth, and the Draconis Combine. The furious and then later titanic battles that were waged as a result of this assault are almost irrelevant, however, in comparison to the impact it had on empowering, economically, the Free Worlds League. This now powerful great house, with an immense amount of industry that was left untouched by the conflict, and who was already an ally of the Draconis Combine, then became the arms provider to the Inner Sphere at large. A deal was struck between the false Thomas Merrick, Captain General of the Free Worlds League, and Hans Davian of the Federated Commonwealth, that the latter would provide medical assistance to the ailing son of the Captain General in order to have access to the military and industrial output of the League through market transactions.
Oh, yay.
What nobody knew at the time was that Comstar had already been pulling the strings behind the scenes.
Yes!
Shifting the League
The Space Mennonites strike again.
not only into their puppet, through their various assets within the League, including the Captain General's body double himself, and in doing so they had already started to ramp up industrial and military production within the reoriented state. House Merrick was to become their muscular puppet, and would be structured in ways that best benefited the Blakeists and their ambitions. And that meant that the League needed to be run for optimal output and economic efficiency. With the Federated Commonwealth, in addition to the Draconis Combine and Capella Confederation now becoming their clients,
The Inquisition, dude. There is just no comparison.
this infused even more capital and materials into the League. It took this already powerful mercantile state to another level of economic and military power. It also ensured that hordes of Merrick design and built upgrade kits and brand new battlemechs flooded the battlefields of the 3050s.
Where did all
And it
these
was
come from?
they who designed and built the first Helm Memory Core upgrades of the Battlemaster. And because of these various trade deals, it was their Battlemaster, the BLR-3M, that became the front and center variant of the mech throughout the clan invasion. It was their Battlemaster that private military contractors, more often than not, desired and acquired. It was their BLR that was outfitted mostly into the armed forces of the Federated Commonwealth, and the other successor states as well.
Very nice.
While domestic production in these states was important, and was also important for the Battlemaster as well, it was the Merrick's configuration, along with the legacy 1G designs in the wild, that truly squared off against the clans in the vicious battles that raged from the start of the clan's Operation Revival, through to the Battle of Tukiad, where Comstar employed these mechs within their own ground forces battling the clans for supremacy over the Inner Sphere. And then later still, it was these Battlemasters that went all the way to the clan homeworlds, and did battle with Clan Smoke Jaguar,
Very nice.
forcing it into its death throes. But this Colossus was not the only example of the Battlemech during this era of innovation and production. Earthworks would face competition once more from Red Devil Industries,
Oh,
as
God.
they updated the BLR-1S into
Talk about a net mech that needed an upgrade. The Steiner mech sucked.
the BLR-3S,
Okay.
doubling down on their original ideas for their design from 3025.
Never mind, it's gonna
but
suck
using
more.
advanced technologies to further, supposedly, enhance it.
Oh,
The Common Commander Assault Mech was truly being refined into the image of the royalty-coveted mechs it was meant to not be, with the addition of newer and more impressive technologies.
okay.
There are few mechs that can better give an example of how things were changing in the Inner Sphere in this era. From the deployment of its upgrades as independent packages to be done as field upgrade kits,
This is
to
true,
the
Growl.
deployment of large numbers of new machines to act as officer mechs for the legions that were to bear down on the threats to the imperial feudalist powers of the Inner Sphere. This showed that the BLR series thrived just as it had during the Succession Wars, proving its mettle on the battlefield, but more importantly, proving its value in the marketplace in order to further cement its position within the militaries of the Inner Sphere. Despite competitor designs emerging even as the decade rolled forward, truly, no mech could, or would, supplant the Battlemaster in its role as the master and commander of frontline forces within the Great Houses for years to come. And the fighting, sadly, was not to end with the clan's capitulation at the end of Operations Bulldog and Serpent, after the destruction of Clan Smoke Jaguar. No.
One thing to always remember. We're always trying to beat the crap out of each other.
The fighting, and the viciousness of the fighting that this mech would see, and be a part of, was only getting started.
Hmm. 3M.
If it's not broken, don't fix it.
Okay.
This is truly the motto of the humble, yet durable, reliable, and cost-effective BLR-3M. It was observed that the Battlemaster 1G was mostly capable in every aspect that a mech warrior required. So why complicate the design and even potentially lower its durability in order to simply raise costs and lower the effectiveness of the mech?
Yeah.
Better yet, it's one of the easiest field kits to put into service as well.
Good.
Meaning that a 1G could be turned into a 3M with very minimal investment, or involvement regarding the upgrade package.
Okay.
The 3M simply looks to solve the most common issues with the original mech. It maintains the entirety of its original body profile, save for replacing its 18 single heat sinks with 18 double heat sinks, increasing its sustainability of fire dramatically, allowing it to alpha strike safely while simply putting fire into targets in its front arc.
There you go.
It also replaces out the original Donnell particle cannon in favor of a Fusagon Longtooth extended range particle projection cannon, otherwise known as an ERPPC, giving it more range and removing its close range vulnerabilities.
Okay.
It also removes a single machine gun in order to place a case system on board, protecting the mech's ammunition, and giving the mech a chance to finish fighting a target, or to get to safety after the detonation of ammunition on board. Beyond this, it retains the 4 forward-facing medium lasers,
Good.
and 2 rear-facing systems, and the original SRM package.
I would still take out the 2 rear-facing systems. I would take those out any day of the week. I really would. Just to add more DACA to the front-facing portion of it, because if you've got a Lance and they just watch a light mech behind you and start wailing away on your rear armor and they're just like not doing anything about it, you're already screwed. I mean, having 2 rear-facing mediums isn't going to do a lot to help you in that regard. If your teammates are idiots, then you've got bigger problems.
Well, this isn't going to face down a Clan Madcat one-on-one. Almost no mech in the Inner Sphere would be able to do so at this point in 3050 anyway, save for rare examples of much heavier and dramatically more expensive mechs like the Banshee refit. It does its job. It takes fire and delivers sustainable hits back,
Okay.
and leads its materially and numerically superior allies to victory over the powerful opponents it was intended to face down. And even if it is destroyed, it is minimally more expensive than the original BLR-1G anyway.
Nice.
This mech is so successful that despite its relative low-tech level, it remains in service all the way into the Il Clan era, 100 years after its original deployment.
Now, this is what you want out of a mech. I mean, this is really what you want out of a mech here. You want something that doesn't have a high ceiling, that is robust, can get the job done, well armored, low cost. This is what you want out of a mech. I'm just saying. It's not flashy, but you can afford it and it can get shit done.
The BLR-3S, the
Oh
successor to the
God,
original
it's another Steiner mech. Let's go.
BLR-1S, is very much the opposite of the 3M in regards to its design and philosophy regarding both its production and usage. Dramatically flawed in some of its core choices regarding its build. It can
Flip
be
the medium
argued
lasers
that
forward.
The BLR-3S is a wildly expensive boondoggle with only some redeeming qualities on the battlefield.
Okay.
Let's go over why. The first major change is that the 3S uses a wildly expensive 13.5-ton 340 XL Fusion engine, keeping it at the same speed as the 1G and 3M, and weighing less, but making the mech more vulnerable to engine death.
Cool.
This isn't inherently a problem per se,
Donald?
but it is a real problem if the mech becomes a focal point of enemy attacks.
Okay.
In other words, it reduces the mech's overall durability and endurance. What's more tragic is after this, it uses 22 single heat sinks on board,
Why?
investing 12 tons into this arrangement. Quite literally, if it uses double heat sinks and invests nothing, it'd almost save the same amount of weight as its XL engine. But I digress. This is a massive sink for tonnage resources in the mech, and represents some of the early mech concepts that were being thrown around in the 3050s. Where some manufacturers had to, or wanted to, cling to single heat sinks.
Okay.
Armor is then also reduced by a half a ton down to 14 tons, doing it no favors in the endurance and defense categories. But where do things go from here regarding its offensive package? The answer is not anywhere great.
Great.
Doubling down on replacing its PPC with a missile system, the 3M installs an LRM-20 into the right arm, this time providing it with 2 tons of ammunition, however.
Oh!
Unlike the 1S, which had to reduce its SRM capacity, the 3S retains the traditional SRM-6 on board, and gives it 2 tons of ammunition as well.
Oh, great!
Case is then added around the LRM-20 ammunition, though not the SRM ammunition. After this, it replaces all 6 of its original medium lasers.
With
and
what?
does so with medium pulse lasers, both in the front and the back. This makes its firepower truly bracketed between close and long range, which is not a bad thing necessarily. It can, in fact, run and fire all forward-facing medium pulse lasers and its SRM-6 and remain heat neutral.
Okay.
These lasers are very accurate, which is also a benefit.
Okay.
The problem is that its LRM-20 simply doesn't work very well beneath 7 hexes, or 210 meters. So even if this launcher's heavy firepower is needed, it will be inaccessible in all likelihood when fighting in close. With its totally unnecessary XL engine, the mech is in essence vulnerable without any particular reason for doing so.
Okay.
It is also much more expensive to produce, and
Yeah.
is less likely to be a field upgrade machine either, due to its XL engine. It is a much more extreme job to refit an engine cavity in a Battlemech than simply change out its cooling. There were 100 ways to achieve a similar outcome, without nearly the wasteful cost or vulnerability. Thus, the 3S is a strange, mixed-range brawler, with perhaps more drawbacks than benefits. Red Devil Industries kept this mech in production for several decades, before they went extinct around the turn of the century,
Good.
for very understandable reasons.
Oh, God.
Some also claim that the Archon is simply a master manipulator, willing to do anything to advance her personal power and caring nothing for her people, except as a means to that end. They say she intends to become First Lord of the Star League by any means necessary, and that her recent takeover of the Federated Commonwealth is just another step along that path. But her own people know better, and time will surely reveal the Archon's true colors. From the famous Lives Holovid series, regarding Catherine Steiner Davian,
We're missing an N in front of that famous, so...
3061.
The best of times, the worst of times. Jesus, is that not
The
Steiner
clan
in a
invasion
nutshell?
itself had resulted in the reformation of the Star League,
Okay.
or rather, the second iteration of it,
Ah.
creating the potential for a real, lasting peace in the inner sphere. Sadly, though, this was an illusion for some to chase after, simply because the personalities involved would have never allowed for this to happen. While some did overtly desire the continuation of this new Star League in the wake of the clan's defeat, the truth was too many sought only their own personal glory and benefit, and this undermined the enterprise. This all truly started to unravel, though, as a consequence of one nation being caught in a lie.
Oh.
For you see, Joshua Merrick, the young man who was receiving medical care to treat his cancer from the New Avalon Institute for Science in the Federated Commonwealth, and who in some ways was a hostage of sorts, had passed away.
Oh.
Rather than risking informing the Free Worlds League as to the fate of the heir to the state, due to the fear that it may result in a decrease or cessation of trade of vital war materials, they opted to swap Joshua with a body double. This was ironic, considering Thomas Merrick, the Captain General at the time and Joshua's father, was also a body double. Regardless,
Are we Spider-Man memeing right now? Are we Spider-Man memeing, okay? Alright, are we doing the Spider-Man thing where everybody's pointing at each other trying to figure out who the imposter is? This is rapidly becoming a game of Among Us, in the worst way possible. Let's go.
Deception was uncovered and not only greatly complicated the rule of the Archon Prince Victor Steiner Davian,
Oh, really? No shit.
but it also resulted in a catastrophic military and strategic setback in the form of Operation Guerrero. A series of attacks were unleashed on the thin corridor connecting the territories of Steiner and Davian by the Capellan Confederation and Free Worlds League, in an attempt to undo the territorial connections between the two halves, and it largely worked, causing the entire area to devolve into what would later be known as the Chaos Marches. This region with time was then heavily exploited by the word of Blake in the years to come,
Joyous.
to even more disastrous effect. But prior to that, what made things spin out of control was when Victor's sister, Catherine, began the process of toppling his rule. She used the crisis born of Victor's incompetence as a leader in his disastrous policy around House Merrick to separate the Lyran half of the Federated Commonwealth into what was known at the time as the Lyran Alliance. He
Yay.
embarked with the armies of the Inner Sphere to crusade against the clans. Victor also left his younger sister Yvonne in charge of the Davian half of the Commonwealth in his absence, who was quickly subdued by their sister Catherine, who then stole that throne as well.
Good
Her
stuff.
ambitions were to use these illegitimate thrones to acquire the first lordship of the newly formed Star League.
Great.
Though that failed when her deposed brother, Victor, became the functional head of Comstar and voted against her in the proceedings.
Yay.
She would later assassinate one of their other siblings, Arthur, and this resulted finally in a civil war, one which Catherine inevitably lost. This backdrop of events saw a radical change to the distribution of battlemechs and the conflicts they were a part of, but it had the biggest impact on the Battlemaster itself. The Free Worlds League ceased its immediate trades with the Federated Commonwealth for their desirable BLR 3M series, for instance, though obviously continued to use them in their own inventories, all whilst continuing to export them to their other allies.
Can't use Yvonne as a dress-up doll? What the hell? What?
Such as the Draconis Combine, Capellan Confederation, and the Word of Blake.
Oh boy.
Where things really came to a head, however, was not in the Merrick side of production, at least not immediately, but in the case of the Steiner production of the BLR series. The Battlemaster 1S and 3S were truly flawed battlemechs, so much so that Red Devil Industries looked at their Pandora manufacturing center as being increasingly not worth maintaining.
Nice.
We can assume from this that orders of these variants and the original 1G were not strong by 3060, and hadn't been for some time. Instead of looking at upgrading and developing their infrastructure to build new Battlemasters, they were preparing to just close their facilities on world, which
Okay.
would allow them to simply walk away from the problems that had mounted in the years of their stewardship there. This taking place, however, was considered wholly unacceptable by the new reigning authorities on Tharkad, especially as the events around the Federated Commonwealth Civil War began to heat up in 3061. Direct government intervention took place when the Archon herself gave public funds over to Red Devil to refurbish the now aging facility, and then further incentives were offered to not only continue to produce battlemechs at the site, but to make new, powerful models for the Devil after this was proposed, or truthfully was ordered, came to an agreement that the BLR 3S needed to be upgraded and modernized for new wars the Alliance was to face. The first example
This is always a good sign. This is always a good sign of terrible things to come. Let's go.
of this fresh configuration were built in 3062, and by 3064 the BLR 4S was in full production. Unfortunately for the Alliance, Pandora, after huge investments were made into it, and after it finally spun up production, fell to Clan Jade Falcon when the planet was given minimal defenders as the Civil War entered into full swing. This concluded in only a handful of these mechs trickling into the LAAF throughout the war, and the mech becoming a second-line war machine for the Falcons themselves. It's even more tragic for the Lyrans and their allies, because the 4S by all rights is one of the best Battlemasters ever produced.
Huh.
And its loss to the Falcons was without a doubt felt. Especially when one factored in that the Falcons had already taken Twycross, Trellshire Heavy Industries' primary location, and the other production site for the BLR series. This meant that as of this loss, the Commonwealth no longer had any domestic Battlemaster production capacity.
Great!
At least for a little while. These facilities would remain locked behind a wall of steel feathers for decades before their eventual recovery by the later renamed Lyran Commonwealth. Though, it was not the...
See, this is something I've never really understood about the Steiners. They are completely and totally militarily inept, and it's almost painful to watch at times. They put one of their biggest manufacturing planets, where they build so much other military hardware, legitimately on the fucking border between them and their most hated enemies. Why?
The end of the BLR story from within the military-industrial complex of House Steiner. The design didn't stay idle within House Merrick at the same time either, though, which itself had opted to, by 3067,
all right,
their
Mitch.
own next
You have a nice night, bud.
Battlemaster. They were also unwilling to allow the Lyrans to hold the crown for the worst Battlemaster ever constructed, and thus pioneered assembling their own unique disaster. They would develop the BLR-5M for domestic use, and once more export during the troubled times of the Civil War era. The only real boon that this mech brought to the Inner Sphere was that it was deployed by the word of Blake, degrading the quality of their armed forces. Still, these transformations, both in the mech's design and production, as well as where that production went to, represented the changes that all Battlemechs experienced that were in some form of active production during the stellar political wars that reshaped the Inner Sphere, in the aftermath of the Clan invasion. And in spite of the hurdles it faced, the BLR series of mechs were still amongst the most popular local command mechs of the era, and were to continue their evolution deployments, even into the Blakest era that followed.
I did something to fix the lag, guys. I did something to fix the lag a little bit. Sorry about that. .4S, here we go.
First put into production on Pandora by Red Devil Industries in 3062,
Okay.
the BLR-4S is an extremely effective example of the Battlemaster, using advanced technologies and the mech's original approximate body plan to put together a truly formidable example of a deadly battle mech. The only thing that it retains, internally, as a standard component as of the time of its original run, is its standard internal structure.
Okay.
For the mech's mobility, it installs a 20.5-ton 340 Vox light fusion engine, a new power plant type born in the Inner Sphere that acts as a halfway point between standard and XL engines that had started to emerge near this time, saving weight but not being as much of a burden on its critical spacing,
Okay.
and giving it more survivability. This allows it to keep pace with battle line formations and freed up some weight. The 4S also possesses 13 double heat sinks, letting it expel up to 26 points of heat per turn, and giving it the chance to run mostly cool. It then has 13.5 tons of ferrule fibers on board,
Okay.
giving it approximately the same protection as a traditional BLR-1G. Oh, and it has a case for all of its ammunition.
Okay.
So, what makes this Battlemaster so deadly? First of all, it replaces out the unnecessary arm-mounted LRM launchers of the 3S.
About
and
time.
installs a Gauss rifle on board, giving it a direct-fire, more multi-purpose weapon.
Well.
And one that concentrates damage. It can also head-clip targets now, which is extremely satisfying. Pairing well with this and finding holes in the armor of its enemies, as one will typically have after being hit by a Gauss rifle, it has an SRM-6 launcher with an Artemis 4 fire control system. The traditional machine guns of the 1G are replaced in this model by a pair of small pulse lasers, which are both effective and not dependent on ammunition. And finally, it faces all of its medium lasers forward, and
Good!
has 4 ER medium lasers and 2 standard medium lasers spread across the right and left torsos.
Okay, finally. Finally, I can agree with something the Steiners have done here.
This is an abundance of close-range firepower, especially when paired with the SRM launcher. Overall, the 4S, despite using a number of expensive technologies, really does get a return on investment for them, unlike some of its other upgrades.
Upgrades. Merrick!
One of the great debacles of Battlemech production, this Keystone manufactured mistake owes its troubles to really one misguided technology, produced by the Free Worlds League itself. Still, looking to follow up the 3M with something approximately in its image, yet improved, Earthworks opted to retain the 5M's standard engine, structure, and armor on board. They once more installed double heat sinks, though this time, fewer of them.
Oh.
And as a result, the mech could cool itself a mere 28 points per turn. So far, this is nothing suspicious.
Right.
It replaces the standard medium lasers of the 3M on board with ER medium lasers.
Okay.
It then drops the SRM launchers and the machine guns in their entirety, severely reducing the versatility of fire the mech can bring onto a target.
Right.
And then the real crimes against efficiency and design are put into play. The PPC is dropped in order to replace it with an ever-disappointing inner sphere ER large laser and an even more disastrous light Gauss rifle. The light Gauss rifle hits with the full force of a large laser, while weighing over twice as much. And the ER large laser, particularly of the inner sphere variety, produces an enormous amount of heat for very minimal damage. Under 10, in fact, which is a major damage threshold in the game. Overall, this puts the BLR in an awkward circumstance where its 2 primary cannons both underperform, and it sacrifices very useful systems, like a PPC and SRM launcher, to achieve this. The only saving grace the 5M has is that the chassis is cheap due to using Introtech components. Its overall weapons profile is disappointing, to say the least.
Yay. Oh.
On Sol in the Draconis Combine, the Battlemaster was forged. Assembled by the Independence Weaponry subsidiary Blankenberg Technologies, the Battlemaster 3K was either crafted directly within the Combine, or was also rebuilt from imported machines from the Free Worlds League. In either instance, in 3064, the Combine added their own variant of the Battlemaster to the stockpiles of the Draconis Combine mustard soldiery. As a whole, the variant is very much built on the idea that staying low cost and cool are unnecessary traits. And this may be somewhat unfortunate.
A little bit.
Standard armor and a standard internal structure, but once more installs an XL engine and uses 18 double heat sinks, letting it discard 36 thermal points per turn, which is, funnily enough, not enough in this instance.
Really?
Its armor total is increased to 16 tons, making it very hardy and durable from the outside indeed. But things get more complicated in terms of its value once we talk about its weapons offerings.
Okay.
It, once more, falls into the Inner Sphere's trap of being obsessed with poor performing ER large lasers, of which it has 2 of them, both of which are side torso mounted. These do minimum damage for their tonnage and produce excessive amounts of heat. It then backs up these long-range weapons with its primary right arm ER PPC, which, without being a better performer, still generates massive amounts of heat over a traditional PPC.
Are they trying to barbecue their pilots? I know that's a lot of heat sinks, but damn, man. Are they trying to barbecue their pilots?
In fact, all 3 of these systems firing together, if the Battlemaster walks, will generate 40 points of heat, which is not great for a mech that cannot dispel 40 points of heat. After this, it has 4 ER medium lasers, with 1 in each arm and 2 being rear-facing.
Dude, the two large lasers in the PPC are a fucking enough, man. Look, I'm a fan of laser boats as much as the next guy, but this is too much.
Before it goes on to use an SRM-6 Streak, which is a superb SRM variant and ensures maximum damage.
Okay.
There's a case for the SRM's ammunition, too.
Okay.
The final piece of this puzzle, making this a true command mech, even if it isn't necessarily a great battlefield performer, is that it has a C3 master computer, making it the center of a C3 network, which is very powerful indeed when working with the right additional C3 systems.
Oh my god. Oh my god. We are Flaming Dragon! I'm just saying, for some reason Tropic Thunder drummed in my head when I see this damn thing, okay?
Overall, the BLR-3K is a decent mech if for no other reason than it being a heavily armored C3 assault mech that moves at a reasonable rate. And its close-range offerings for firepower are also still decent. It just runs really hot. And if the torsos are opened up, it can be quickly disabled due to its XL engine.
Wow. Oh boy.
There is no question that the transfers had less to do with the mantle of the First Lord than I once thought, Percenter. No, it was the transfer of Blessed Terra herself since the last of the first true lords. The first was the passage of Holy Terra to Blessed Blake himself. As the
Reverb. You're exactly right. Karina, you just use 6 medium lasers over the large lasers. They'll do more damage up close and use a heavy PPC at range.
League
Here we
burned
go.
into memory.
Thank you,
The
Reverb.
second was the passage of Holy Terra to our true order, after we purged those who could no longer believe.
Okay.
And now, at least, the transfer has come. Not in the guise of a false Star League, masquerading as the real thing, yet powerless to act, but as a new order, unifying, rising from the ashes of the old, bringing back the balance we lost when the Camerons fell.
Oh, great.
Thomas the Master Merrick, Cyrnus, April 2nd, 3081.
The Mennonites have decided to take over. Chaos and destruction!
After the resolution of the Federated Commonwealth Civil War, the collapse of the Second Star League was inevitable. Not only was the clan menace subdued for the time being, but the great houses were all turning inwards too, especially after the disastrous conflict that had claimed the lives of countless people, and a bloody, unnecessary, vanity-fueled war. But this crisis
Isn't that every fucking war that gets fought in the Inner Sphere?
then spiraled out of control once the word of Blake, intent on joining the Star League, lost their collective minds at the implosion of their heralded and religiously revered star-spanning alliance.
Sweet.
With the assistance of Hidden Worlds, as well as the Free Worlds League, which was a captured state, they prepared to launch a holy war upon the entirety of the Inner Sphere.
Perfect.
A crusade of sorts, you might say.
Oh, yes.
Worlds burned, many of which never recovered, once the assault was unleashed. A significant volume of planets, staples of the Inner Sphere's industrial power, were badly degraded during this time, such as even Hesperus and Irion.
Yeah,
This was an
Mitch, I
era
do.
of almost total warfare and collapse across much of human space. But, despite the damage to industrial potential and the scouring of states for their resources, this time also saw an explosion of mech variants. And this was also true for the Battlemaster series of mechs, which saw new variants from across the Inner Sphere. Over time, new manufacturers had been entering the game regarding the Battlemaster too.
Hit the like button if you
adding
would,
their
guys.
own particular flair to the mech. The Free Worlds League, and later the former Free Worlds League, would experiment with
So the less Free Worlds League.
a new model using C3, while retaining their woeful choice of installing a light ghost rifle to the mech. The Capellan Confederation also appears to have begun building their own domestic models, and using stealth armor as a major upgrade for it.
Does it come with a dagger to stab them and other people in the back? Just a question.
But the most fascinating story regarding the BLR's numerous variations and new manufactures, in fact, came from the Lyran Commonwealth. In the wake of the loss of Pandora, multiple new entities stepped in to fill the void that had been left behind. The first and most notable model was the BLR-10S, which was built by the little-known manufacturer JB Battlemechs on Storefors. Unironically, JB believed they could enhance and build a new reputation on the back of this classic and well-understood Battlemech. Given that they are largely known for little else beyond being the first to resuscitate the Battlemaster from within the Commonwealth, I suspect that this did not work out as intended. But hey, at least they got some pretty decent military contracts from the Lyran Commonwealth in the deal.
Of course they did.
Assembly didn't get truly off the ground for several years after the disastrous loss of Pandora, but by 3070, during the opening stages of the Blakest era, production was indeed happening for these new 85-ton monsters walking off the assembly line. From there, a mere 2 years later, the 10S2 emerged as well, in a further attempt to press forward their new machines. But it didn't stop there either.
Okay.
As Defiance Industries itself stepped in 3085 and began using their Kwanjongni facility to produce their own new Battlemaster, something they weren't traditionally known for.
Oh.
This took the form of the BLR-6X, which harnessed the power of a breakthrough engine technology. This absurdly expensive Battlemech even managed to make it into service with the Commonwealth despite its more experimental nature. Though in what numbers such a mech could be seen, it's hard to fully know. It houses the most powerful engine ever conceived for a Battlemech, at least for one in maiden production. And its primary power source is more expensive than a 400XL or even a 400 double XL engine. It is fitting that it emerged from the Lyran Commonwealth, though ironic that it appears just as their economy and industries began to falter in the aftermath of the Blakest assault on the Inner Sphere. Terra fell, and so did the Word of Blake, thanks to the alliance that was built up to defeat them. Which included a major component from House Steiner, no less, even if it didn't provide the finishing blow.
Scratching my head about this. Let's go. The 10S, let's go.
A truly new take on the Battlemaster's internal settings and weaponry, the BLR-10S directly attempts to pivot away the series from being a command mech, and opting to use it in a direct assault mech role. It does this through installing a 255 compact engine on board.
Okay.
This means that the engine takes up less space within the chassis, but at the cost of having heavier shielding, i.e. tonnage. This makes the mech less likely to be taken out by engine destruction. In this case, this rather subpar engine, as this particular mech can only move at 54 kilometers per hour, weighs in at a shocking 19.5 tons, as if it were a 300 standard fusion power plant. The 10S also has a heavy-duty gyro, making it less likely to be knocked out by incoming fire, and giving the mech a chance to survive long enough with a gyro hit that it can either finish the fight that it is in, or it can attempt to withdraw. Beyond this, it has a standard structure and 20 double heatsinks, letting it cool 40 every turn. It also has 16.5 tons of standard armored plating, the maximum for its weight, as well as a Guardian ECM to add a layer of electronic defense. It also has a case system once more for its ammunition. This means it will be well thermally regulated and also very durable. Given its role as a fighting assault mech, this is very much required.
So where does it all go wrong? This is a Steiner mech.
After this, we get into its armaments. First of all, it has an ER-PPC in the right arm, which is no surprise.
Right.
After this, it has 6 ER medium lasers spread between its 2 side torsos, as well as an SRM-4 streak.
Okay.
It then, oddly, has a rear-facing, head-mounted ER small laser.
Moral support, okay.
Finally, it has a pair of B-pods on board to help the mech dispense with enemy battle armor that get too close. Clearly this was something on the designer's minds, given how slow the mech is. The real problem the BLR-10S faces is that it is just not very good at its intended job.
Okay.
Yes, it can catch bullets like the best assault mechs, but looking at other slow-moving assaults, they tend to be very heavily gunned, and the 10S just isn't. It has a single ER PPC and 6 ER medium lasers essentially. The medium lasers are by no means bad, they are the staple of any design. They just offer very little in regards to either scatter damage or punch-through ability. Against a properly designed assault mech of equivalent tonnage or greater, the 10S will struggle, even with its enhanced durability.
So essentially what we're looking at here is them taking a chassis and trying to turn it into a brawler, which they would have been better served just taking a standard brawler and making that damn thing.
Simply put, it is armed like a quicker moving command mech, rather than being the straight fighter it is now intended to be. GB Battlemechs definitely showed that even a great story chassis can be underserved by amateurs.
Oh.
Defiance Industries has an incredible pedigree regarding the manufacturing and exporting of battlemechs. It also has a fantastic reputation for pushing technological boundaries. In one of the early years of the New Republic era, they began producing what is one of the most unique war machines ever constructed. Though, that doesn't necessarily mean it is a war-winning design.
Okay.
To start with, it uses an endo-steel frame in order to save weight, and has a standard gyro. It also has 16 double heat sinks on board, letting the mech vent 32 of its heat buildup per turn.
Okay.
And it'll definitely need to do this. Oh, and it has 15 tons of armor and a case on board for its volatile components. The thing that makes the 6X revolutionary, for good or for ill, is its 26.5-ton 425XL fusion engine, making it the first 85-ton mech to inherently break the 80 km/h move rate without requiring a supercharger, TSM, or mask. However, there are multiple drawbacks to make this happen. Double XL engines take up a huge amount of critical, and face the same problems of standard Inner Sphere XL engines, in that the mech can be knocked out through its side torsos. Of course, it adds 12 engine critical to the mech overall as well, which is an insane amount and makes the engine a huge weak point, even without the loss of a torso. Double XL engines also constantly produce heat, whether the mech is standing or moving, and it is not insubstantial, so much so that the 6X faces heat problems when firing its main weaponry even. The other major drawback is cost. This engine is far and away the most expensive in mech history up until this point, at least as an Inner Sphere spec'd power plant. Is the BLR-6X worth more than a direwolf? Is it more valuable than the greatest fighting machines in history, whether they be Inner Sphere or Clan? While this doesn't impact gameplay entirely, for the state producing it, is it really worth it? As far as weaponry is concerned, the BLR-6X comes with an ER PPC, twin ER medium lasers, a Streak SRM-6, and a heavy PPC. Funnily enough, it realistically can't use both PPCs together very often due to its double XL power plant.
Who knew Boss was a good mech in this setting? Really? Meep meep.
At least not without any penalties, depending
Thanks,
on
bud.
if
Jeez,
it is moved
I
or not.
appreciate it, meep meep,
Overall,
but
the
God, you're a
6X
dick
has
tonight.
a
Yes,
lot in
nuke him,
common
nuke him.
with
Go
the
ahead.
laser charger
Do it.
variants,
Do it.
in terms of
Do
really
it.
everything, from firepower to mobility. The real difference is, a charger costs substantially less, and might perform better in its roles depending. This Battlemaster makes history in many ways, but it's very much the case of, scientists were so preoccupied with whether or not they could, they didn't stop to think if they should.
There we go.
This mech is
We've
still
done
in
it.
service,
We've
according
done
to
it.
the MUL and the Lyran Commonwealth, to this day.
Okay. Nuclear launch detected. So far, to be honest with you, I understand why people like this mech. I really, really do. But this isn't upsetting my top 5 at all. Not yet. Like, it's gonna take something major for this thing to upset my top 5 mechs. Oh my god.
The timing's the best we're going to get. The Lyrans are
Stop
starting
it!
to pull themselves out of the hole. The Caridans have stretched themselves too thin. The Free Worlds League weathered the loss of a leader,
Thanks, bud.
and a major conflict now has its attention focused on the periphery. The Federated Sun's morale and economy has reached rock bottom, and the Confederation wants nothing more than to stab its bogeyman, even if it means slashing around in the dark. If we delay dropping the wall even 6 months, any one of these conditions might no longer hold true, and we likely don't have 6 months. The wall will just fail. Better it come down at a time of our choosing, rather than failing at an inconvenient time. Devlin Stone, outlining the reasoning behind the plan that would inevitably see his downfall, and the destruction of the Republic of the Sphere.
Sweet.
3148.
Sweet. A new age. A dark age.
Military and industrial decline best describe much of the Dark Age that followed in the path of annihilation that had been put forward by the word of Blake before their expulsion from the human sphere. In the aftermath, the borders of the Inner Sphere changed in shocking ways as well. The Free Worlds League was sundered into its component duchies, and
I didn't even think about that, Meep. I did not even think about that. Head-butting a Battlemaster would be an instant kill. It would be an instant kill. It would be over.
independent worlds.
Thank you, bud.
The center of the Inner Sphere had formed into Devlin Stone's Republican ways as well.
Let's go.
The Free Worlds League was sundered into its component duchies
Lordy
and
Merrick.
independent worlds. The center of the Inner Sphere had formed into Devlin Stone's Republic, a new state.
Hey, Corsair.
Institutions designed to reduce the power of oligarchic nobles. Though how effective this was varied with the times. But this new status quo, this new normal, was not to last.
Of course not.
The HPG network was shut down. From an as-of-yet unknown malignant actor, the clans began to go on a rampage from the invasion corridor.
Of course.
Particularly Clan Hell's Horses, Jade Falcon, and Wolf. The houses began military campaigns, even with their diminished assets.
So basically, King Crab is the definite number one at that. Ebon Jaguar, the Timberwolf is, rounds out the top three of those. The Highlander and the Marauder.
Save for the Capellan Confederation that had never truly disarmed and had continued covert and overt campaigns to destroy the Republic for decades.
Yay!
So much
Hey,
happened.
Avalon.
The Lyran Commonwealth collapsed after invading the former Free Worlds League alongside Clan Wolf.
Good job.
The League reformed. The Federated Suns faced their worst defeat in history and lost New Avalon to the Draconis Combine. The Confederation took many worlds and drove a stake into the heart of the Republic itself, as war spread yet even further across human space.
Yep, Mad, that
it all
works.
ended when Stone's Republic was finally killed, in a final gambit to save itself, allowing the Wolves and Jade Falcons eventually into the Sol System. And now, a new clan state exists in the heart of the Inner Sphere, in the Republic's place. One which claims to be the rightful inheritors to the legacy of the Star League.
Of course they
And in
do.
the midst of all of this madness,
Isn't that literally everyone in the damned Inner Sphere right now?
of all of these chaotic series of conflicts, in this stew of economic decline and destruction, efforts weren't made to still drive forward old designs and new ones amongst the many Battlemech producers of the Inner Sphere, and this proved to be no less true when it came to the BLR series. New variants also emerged from within the traditional home of the mech's construction, such as the BLR-6M and 3120, being forged by the doomed Merrick Stewart Commonwealth. This particular iteration of the mech, and the manufacturing of this machine on Keystone, finally came to a close with the eventual Wolf operation to take over the region. Many of these mechs still exist from having been built for decades, and the prior 3Ms and 5Ms remain a lasting legacy for its time here too. But the dramatic changes that the Inner Sphere would face saw many casualties in regards to not only the destruction of human lives, but the destruction of human infrastructure and shifts in industrial policy based on who now presides over the war-making assets of the planets they ruled. And while one pillar of the Battlemaster's long rule in the Inner Sphere was knocked down, the failing of the most prominent Merrick state prior to the reunification of the League, a new one had already emerged to take its place.
Okay.
Long dependent on imports of the Battlemaster during and before the 31st century, this changed officially for the Federated Suns during this new age. Ironically, the Battlemaster is often thought of as a Davian Battlemech due to their appreciation and love of the design, but they were one of the countries that were most dependent on imports.
I haven't seen a single... I don't think I've seen a single Davian modification of this. Thank you, Reverb. The Battlemaster isn't fancy or flashy, but it can take a beating, it can deal damage, and if one falls, another one can take its place one can replace it cheaply. And that's really what you do want with a Battlemech. That's really what you do want with a Battlemech that you're going to be supplying en masse to your troops. Like, that's why I was just completely blown away by the fact the Lyrans didn't understand the kind of gold mine they had with the Bushwhacker. I'm just saying. I mean, it really does come down to that. Why didn't they use the Bushwhacker? It would have been so much better. The 1D is Davian?
This changed once one of their most reliable and powerful manufacturers, General Motors, decided to take advantage of the ancient design. Older mechs with understood functions are often, when retrofitted appropriately, a very profitable thing to be involved with.
Oh, of course.
GM understood this as
Everyone
well
likes
as
a
any other
classic.
Battlemech supplier. Perhaps one of the most frightening things about this as well is that General Motors took an initiative to ensure that this new take on the Battlemech wasn't just some slight rebrand of another model.
Okay.
A BLR-6G is a devastating design, and can lay down a barrage of fire at almost every range.
Oh.
It is a vicious threat to just about anyone who comes into contact with it, while still maintaining all of the attributes necessary to be a command mech.
Okay.
First appearing in 3088, it spread throughout the Federated Suns, and then their allies, the Republic of the Sphere, with ease, before finding its way into the hands of mercenaries. By the end of the Dark Age, every single Inner Sphere power, including those with their own Battlemaster production sites, put this model into operation, either through buying them secondhand in the open market, or directly dealing with the Davians or the Republic to acquire them for themselves. Much like the BLR-3M before it, the Davians and their GM contractors have created something that captures the essence of what the Battlemaster needs to be, while enhancing it to another level. It's also fitting that this mech, one which the Davians have had as a symbol for so long, has become one of the best performers in their stable. And this wasn't the only new location that saw the Battlemaster being built. Several technological hybrid variants had entered service across the Inner Sphere as well, including the BLR-6R, a somewhat product of Clan Seafox. Based on the BLR-6G, this Seafox refit more or less changes out some of the weaponry on board, while usually not requiring a full refit at a factory location, but it became common enough that the 6R is an official designation, and has preset configurations provided by the Foxes for their potential clients. It is most popular within the beleaguered Federated Suns itself, due to its use of an autocannon. But beyond this, Clan Jade Falcon continued to improve on the Battlemaster as well for their second-line units, coming out with several outright clan variants of it, even after the fall of Pandora once more to the Lyran Commonwealth, if only for a few years.
I'm kind of interested to see what a clan version of the Battlemaster actually looks like.
After the collapse of the Clan Jade Falcon occupation zone, these models fell into the hands of a new state, or at least a resurrected one, in the form of an independent Tamar. Production ended up being moved
at Tanagra
to Twycross by the Falcons at some point during all of this.
Of course they did, M1.
Industries produced a major variant of the Battlemech throughout the modern age, the BLR-C3. This gave them the ability to continue to produce and deploy their powerful second-line variation of the Battlemaster, even after the loss of Pandora. But nothing was going to stop the wholesale loss of what was to come.
You got more information on the Kamchatka earthquake? It woke up a 600-year-old volcano and then got hit by a 34-foot tsunami. Oh my God. I heard that the volcano had erupted. I heard that. I didn't hear how big the tsunami was. Where did it all hit? That's the big question.
After the disaster of Malvina, the aforementioned collapse of the Clan Jade Falcon occupation zone has left the facility within the clutches of the Alina Mercantile League. These mighty behemoths are then exported to favorable allies and clients as they make plays to be the dominant power of the hinterlands.
Okay, I like this
Everyone
pattern.
who still has the capacity to build them does. Everyone who has the ability to export them also, likewise, does. The Battlemaster has become ubiquitous in many ways, even if supposedly not built in such great numbers to dominate the whole of the inner sphere. However, one thing is certain, even in this late, dark age, the Battlemaster has not shrunk as many other machines, but instead has thrived and evolved into a platform that would be scarcely recognizable to what the Star League had employed centuries earlier. And as time carries forward, its bubble-shaped cockpit, most assuredly, will still be a sight to be seen on battlefields for decades, and perhaps even centuries to come.
There's nothing like longevity. Let's go. 6M.
The final iteration of the Battlemaster as built by House Merrick, the BLR-6M is a very different take on things versus the BLR-5M. First built in 3120, this advanced machine has many virtues and exploits multiple advanced intersphere technologies, all while mostly retaining its durability, much like its predecessors.
Okay.
To save weight, this Battlemaster does use an endosteel internal structure, as well as light ferrofibrous armor.
Okay.
It also retains its standard fusion engine, but then exposes itself to potential hazards with the use of an XL gyro, making it much more likely to be disabled through gyro destruction, unfortunately. Finally, it has 14 double heatsinks on board, dropping the mech's temperature by 28 points per turn, which matches its offensive systems profiles quite well. Another major component that we'd not gone over in this video, but impacts several dedicated Battlemaster designs, and several refits, is the command console. One is installed on the 6M, which essentially gives it the potential for 2 mech warriors to inhabit the cockpit, allowing them to offset and switch between tasks.
You're going to put 2 mech warriors inside that cockpit. You got an abundance of them or something?
This adds versatility, and even adds durability in some senses, as if one pilot is wounded or killed, the other can potentially step in. This is also a staple of much more command-oriented retrofits or designs, as it can allow a commander to command, while the mech fighting is handled by another warrior. This feature, however, costs a fair bit of tonnage, and comes at the expense of something else, typically armor, cooling, or weaponry. When we get into its offensive package itself, it's very simple. In the right arm resides a heavy PPC, and across the torsos, it has twin ER medium lasers and twin ER small lasers embedded in it. Occupying the traditional left missile pack region of the mech in the torso is not an LRM or SRM launcher, but instead a massive and devastating Thunderbolt 15 missile. This gives it another weapon that strikes with the ferocity of the heavy PPC, while not generating quite as much heat, and letting the mech continue to fight well at a distance, especially when the two systems are paired together in firing. Its ammunition is, of course, protected by a case system.
Of course.
Overall, the BLR-6M is a decent attempt at rebuilding the Battlemaster for the Dark Age, though it is much more of a long-range sniper than many of its peer designs. While being simple to build and well protected, it also suffers from potentially being disabled more quickly through the center torso due to its XL gyro as well. In other words, it has its virtues and it has its compromises.
Union Jack, that is still something. There's a lot that's going on with the house still that I just really haven't talked about. A lot of things that I'm trying to get taken care of. It just requires a lot of time and a lot of effort and a lot of money. And I don't have a lot of time. It just is what it is. At the end of the day, it's just something I've got to continuously deal with. Roomy is an understatement, M01. That thing is, yeah.
General Motors' brutish variation
6G.
of the BLR series, one using advanced inner sphere technologies exclusively, is no slouch. This particular variant might as well be viewed as some kind of Stormbringer, simply because where it goes, the thunder calls.
Huh.
It uses endosteel to save weight and has a 340 light engine rather than an XL or standard engine.
Okay.
Saving on some weight but making the mech slightly less vulnerable than the traditional XL. It can also drop 32 built-up heat per turn too, and has 15.5 tons of heavy plating defending it. The Davians are mostly well known for their love of autocannons. However, in the post-Blakist world, it has become clear that their tastes have changed a tad bit.
A little bit.
And the BLR 6G is a perfect example of this, because they opted to replace almost every traditional forward-firing laser of the Battlemaster with particle projection cannons. In the right hand resides a Magna Hellfire Heavy PPC.
This thing has 5 PPCs. This thing has 5 PPCs on board. What in the bluest of fuck is anybody gonna do when this thing shoots at them? They're literally this is hilarious, okay? Like, I'm sorry, you no longer have an interface. You are now going to witness the sight of a new star being born every few seconds. Congratulations. I hope you're wearing glasses. Hey, Joe, Brandon released the AK-50 update video. Nice. Yeah, nice. Yeah, this is... Yeah, thank you, Joe. But this is just silly, okay? You are the microwave.
Which can head clip and is a great hole puncher. Then this is backed up at range by 4 light PPCs. This means it can throw, consistently, 35 points of lightning damage downrange every turn. And when things get in close, it has twin small X-Pulse lasers, as well as a Streak SRM-6. Also, it has twin rear-facing ER small lasers. Overall, this Titanic Battlemech can keep at range, and can deliver devastating barrages from 120 meters and beyond. It is most definitely almost a minor thunder god, and is devastating in any lance or company that it is a part of. It also helps that its overall weaponry, armor, and profile make it an excellent command mech.
Oh my god. You're literally looking face first at the sun consistently with this thing. It doesn't even have to sit with the amount of heat sinks it has. It can just continuously fire one PPC after another one, and quite simply put, you're looking at the surface of a tanning bed. Jesus.
There have been several clan iterations of the Battlemaster from within the Inner Sphere.
Here we go.
Since the Jade Falcons took Pandora, and later utilized Twycross to construct them. These second-line machines are typically not complicated, and this holds true for the C3 as well. Its components, outside of the 18 onboard Clan-Tech double heat sinks, are all basic. It can drop 36 points of heat per turn, and has 14.5 tons of standard armor. This is very simple. The only expensive, onboard, non-weapons-based component is its targeting computer. Its offensive systems are where things get very mean, though.
Okay.
As it always does with clan mechs, and especially, ironically, their more budgeted models. The BLR C3 uses a Clan-Tech ER PPC, one of the best weapons in the game, for starters. This is a deadly death dealer to be most assured, but it then backs this up with 4 forward-facing Clan-Tech ER medium lasers, which do fantastic damage and have solid range for their minimal tonnage.
This looks just like, like the weaponry we're looking at here looks exactly like the original model, only with Clan-Tech. at this point.
2 rear-facing medium lasers are then added too. Twin machine guns still reside
Yeah,
in the
it's-
left arm, much as the original BLR-1G had. Finally, it has an SRM-6 streak for cluster damage in close.
Yeah,
It
this
in
is
essence
this is exactly like the original model, only upgraded with Clan Tech and given a streak SRM6.
a straightforward Clan Tech upgrade of the original Battlemaster.
Yeah,
And there's nothing wrong with that.
no, there's
It
not.
has better range and better damage, while retaining its relatively inexpensive cost. Now in the hands of the Tamar Pact and the Alena Mercantile League, these monsters will be seen across the inner sphere with time, as funds are raised by exporting these things to anyone who can pay. Both sides, after all, have wars to fund.
Of
It is
course.
a deadly and effective upgrade, so well worth the price.
Yeah, Mitch, pretty much.
Cowards die many times before their deaths. The valiant never taste of death but once. Of all the wonders that I have yet heard, it seems to me most strange that men should fear, seeing that death, necessary end, will come when it will come.
Joyous.
Julius Caesar, as portrayed by Shakespeare.
Mm-hmm. To become the chariot of the gods. Okay.
The Battlemaster's beginning was perhaps ironic. When first conceived and made reality by Hollis Industries, it was by no means a true Battlemaster. This was a mech for frontline commanders who originated from the general rank-and-file soldiers of the SLDF. This was not a sword for the elite by any means, and funnily enough, it was hardly the master of warfare. Other command mechs with much more sophisticated systems were in use across the royal divisions of the SLDF, some of the better quality SLDF units, and the elite formations of the great houses.
Mm-hmm.
This low-tech command chassis, however, survived the apocalypse of the Amer-Civil War and First Succession War, and in doing so, it became something new without ever changing. The mighty lords of the Star League, now diminished themselves, and diminished in what they could deploy, took this now comparatively mighty command mech as their own. From colonels to the House Lords themselves, this command machine became something more. Its combat potential and frontline abilities threw it to the front of the pack of the remaining machines that could be built and supported in the depleted eras that followed the crash of the Star League. Even the mech's manufacturers began to change. By the time of the clan invasion, its reputation had changed, becoming alien to what the descendants of the SLDF knew. A middling machine in their own time became a pillar of combat and command in the inner spheres since their departure, and throughout the invasion and the eras that followed, the BLR series would go on to prove its mettle against the highly advanced war machines of these alien invaders, as well as the fanatics of the Word of Blake, fighting these advanced threats to mankind, and evolving as it did.
Nice.
Now, the BLR has faced the storm of chaos brought on by the HPG blackout, and even then, the great houses still deploy these monstrosities, and their house lords still drive them into battle against not only their threats nearby, but against the very threat of a clan-restored Star League, commanded by the degenerate descendants of Nicholas Kerensky. Mechs such as the Battlemaster are, and will be at the forefront of every war against this threat to the ancient ruling families of human space. And fittingly so. Because in the centuries since the fall of the first, true Star League, the Battlemaster has become a symbol for the Great Lords themselves. It has become the symbol of leadership.
It's kind of impressive how these older model ones that just really didn't get a lot of play, like the Banshee, turned into such big things. Shadow Angel, thank you! I won't be staying since I don't know squat about this. You should come by. Battletech Tuesday is the thing. But I've been enjoying a ton of your content this last weekend. I've literally watched like 200 videos of SCPs alone and wanted to show some support. Love the vids, boss. Keep them coming. Thank you, bud. Much appreciated. Much, much appreciated. I'm trying to get back into SCP a little bit more, just a little bit more. The camera calls. I keep on wanting to check that out. I keep on wanting to see that particular SCP. In fact, I don't know if I'm going to be able to watch it tonight, but to sit down with it tonight, but I'm probably going to be doing it tomorrow. Hans Davian? Yes, I said, yep.
It has become the symbol.
Thank you, Shadow. Much appreciated, bud.
It has become the symbol of the inner sphere. It has become what it was always meant to be. Its namesake.
Yay!
The Battlemaster.
God. It really does.
I see. Pity. Remain here. I need to go out there. You...
Guys, much appreciated everybody that sends super chats. I really do appreciate it. Like, a lot. So, me, even though you made fun of me for being bald all damn night, much appreciated. Everybody that has sent, like, Shadow Angel, much appreciated. You guys really don't know how much that does help at the end of the month. It really is. Bean is Battletech Tuesday's mascot. Actually, Mad, I'm going to be building the Bean his own place. Him, and we're going to get a couple of others for him to, because he's a very small bantam, and we're probably either going to get a couple more bantams or quail, and they're going to be in there with him.
Must stay here, Toranaga snapped. I don't have time to argue. She turned and went over to the rail overlooking the rest of the command center. Listen up. Those of you who have mechs here at the palace, go to them now. I will be with you momentarily. Several soldiers rose and headed for the front door. You cannot! The Conry shouted. The coordinator turned and glared at him. You would have me cower here? No. I am the coordinator, not some frightened girl. If they want me, they are going to have to fight me on the battlefield. You have no mech. That's a good thing I ordered my great-great-grandfather's Battlemaster readied after I was nearly killed in my previous mech, isn't it?
Yes.
The Battle of Unity Palace, the Imperial City, Luthien, the Draconis Combine, 15th of May, 3150.
That is a hell of a paint job on that Battlemaster, I'm just saying. That is a hell of a paint job.
Thank you all for joining me here today. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit the like button, it really does help. And also, if you're new here, don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell notification button as well.
Did you bring him down? Okay. We're gonna get Alfarius back in here.
I make videos like this all year long, and you don't want to miss out. As always, these particular pieces have become a lot of work, so I want to give a special shout out to all the YouTube channel members who support.
Huh? Yes. Come here. Oh, it's Alfarius.
He said he was hungry and he had to go potty.
It's the little guy.
I'm gonna run to the restroom.
Look, he's a little. Let go of the cord. Thank you. You're a little guy. Look, what is this? Say hey. Okay, come here. Say hey to everybody. There you go. There you go. There you go. All right, fine. You can lean up against me like that. There we go. Are you okay? Are you just tired? Is that the deal? What's your deal? Yeah, I know the war crimes are over there. They're over there? Are they over there? Right over there? Okay. Just wondering. Is that the war crime? Yes? Okay. Well, there we go. A God, like, she wants to, yeah, I don't know, Mitch. It might be.
Support my work. This really wouldn't be possible without your support. If you'd like to become a YouTube channel member, don't forget to hit the join button. It's really what allows me to do this. So once more, thank you. Tackling the Battlemaster ended up being something that...
I'm gonna make him some eggs.
You're gonna make him some eggs?
Yeah.
He's gonna have some eggs. Little guy's gonna have some eggs. Oh, well, that sounds great. Say hey to everybody.
Hey, everybody.
Okay. Yeah, she's a pupper. Yeah, she's a little pupper. Okay. Okay. You little fat thing. You're feeling better? Is he feeling better?
He was sleeping.
Okay, good.
Then he jumped awake, and I was like, you probably gotta go to the bathroom.
Yeah, it's okay. Well, he's gonna stay with me first.
He's
Didn't
gonna
end up
go out to go to the bathroom.
Okay.
being as long as I thought it would be, as I actually really did think that this video was going to clear 2 hours easily. But it also presented a bunch of other dilemmas, just in how the data around the mech is kind of splashed around between various books, including ones I'd not actually expected. I hope this lives up to everyone's expectations for it all the same.
Oh, very much
I
so.
also hope I didn't make any grievous errors. I don't think I did, but hey, you never know.
Mm-hmm.
There could always be a book out there with something
Here,
extra that I
look at
missed.
him on camera.
What?
Look at his pretty red ears.
Yeah, look at his little red ears. Okay, hold on. I got it. Okay, come here. Okay, I got you. I
He's
got you.
pretty
There you go.
colors.
Look at him. Look at his little face. Look at his little face. Okay, here you go.
He says he's gotta go. Daddy, I got
There we go. Okay.
He's gonna go poop.
Umbral, you have a nice night, bud. I tried.
There is also one particular art piece in this video, that of Wayne Waco preparing to confront Jamie Wolf, that was created by Eldonius Rex for this channel for an on-permanent hiatus Waco's Rangers video. A huge thank you to Eldon for the incredible art piece depicting that, and it was nice to
That's the
finally be able to use
LRM-20
it
right
some.
there.
But
Wait,
with all of
what
that
is that?
said, what
is that? Is that the LRM? That the hell is that? What's that on its left arm? What the hell is that thing? What is that weapon system? Can somebody please tell me, okay? Because I'm trying to figure it out and my brain is not computing.
you think of the Battlemaster video? Did you enjoy it? Which is
Milo!
your favorite configuration? Let me know in the comments section down below, and I will catch you all there.
Yeah, Buck. That is an Ultra AC-20. What not? Yeah, it does look like a bunch of SRM-6s glued together. Warpugs. You guys have been talking about this one since we got in here, so I think that's going to be next week. That's 5 LRM-10s? I don't think so. I don't think so. That is weirdness. But, so, is it a good mech? Yes, it is. Do I like it? Yes, I very much do. Is it one of the top? Does it come and replace any of the top 5? Not a shot. Not a shot. It's just not there. Okay, not for me. That's a rock with 5 SRM-6s and a few lasers. That's ridiculous. That's absolutely absurd. Absolutely absurd, okay? That is, I point at it and it did, like, everything in this general direction just vanishes. Joe, thank you. You and Ezzy should look into getting guinea fowls. We've talked about that, actually. They're great for keeping foxes, snakes, rats, and other predators away. They make a shitload of noise whenever they see one. This is true. The only problem is they're loud. I like the fact that, you know, the loudness would be a good thing, but at the same time, it would be a nightmarish thing at the same time. The sheer fact of the matter is, if you've never heard guinea fowl are so damned loud that if they started going off back there, you would hear them in here. And I can't really have that happen a lot. You know, can't really have that happen. It's the Wing Hussar of Kaboom Boy. Nice. Mintberry Crunch. Thank you, bud. Much appreciated. First time catching you live. Just wanted to say love your work. When I first discovered Warhammer, your channel became an immediate favorite. Wish you and yours all the best. Katie stands. Mintberry. I also have the lore channel. I haven't done anything with it in 6 months, bordering on 7, probably 8 at this point. I can't wait to get back into lore. It's going to be a bit. Me and the hospital are trying to get something done if we can get it done. I'm this close to being able to go full-time content creation. This close. This close. I'm almost there. I'm close. And I really want to get there. Thank you, Mintberry. Thank you, Joe. Thank you, everybody. I swear. Guys, Mech Warrior is so... No, I'm not going... Captain Commander, I'm not getting my wife a fucking trash can for house defense. It's not happening. It's not happening. The Rock is Red's mascot custom mech, and he did a video on it. Okay, so real quick. X in chat if you want The Rock next week. X in chat if you want The Rock next week. Because apparently... Like, what would my own mech be called? The War Crime? I mean, I think that would be it. It would most definitely be... I shuddered. I shudder to think. The Pug... It'd be a modified King Crab. That's what it would be, with dual AC-20s. The Necro Incident, The Rock. There we go. Guys, I am going to get back into, I cannot wait until I go full-time content creation, because it means I'm going to be able to do so much with that wall right there. And you guys haven't seen me in front of that wall in a bit. I haven't been in front of that wall in a bit, but I want to be back there. I have scripts that need to be recorded. I have all this kind of stuff. I just don't have time to edit it. If it's a Marauder, it will be the Bean. Yeah. No, that would be a Locust with an AC-20 mounted to it. That's what the Bean would be, okay? Or a Flea, one of the two. It would have that with an AC-20 mounted to it. The Bald or the Pug. Thank you, Captain Commander. I much appreciate it. It just has a head mounted like ERPPC or something like that. Just so anytime somebody looked at the head, it would shine. Yeah, it sounds about right. War Pugs. We're heading into the later stage of the week. Tomorrow's Wednesday for all of us that, do their 9 to 5s. I hope the rest of your week goes swimmingly. I really do. I hope that you enjoy the rest of your week, or at the very least, it's tolerable. Now, as far as we go, Shenanigans is going to be on Friday. I haven't decided if I'm going to do another live stream later this week or not yet. I'll figure that out at some point. If you guys see an update, you see an update. If you don't, my brain is fried. But I'm going to head out from here. I thank everyone for watching. All my members and Patreons. It means a massive, massive deal to me and the hospitaler. It means a massive amount to us. Please hit the like on the video. Thank you so much to everybody that sent super chats, and thank every one of you for showing up. I hope you had fun. I know I did. Catch you guys next time.